right, here's the live visuals of the Chinook that's just landed with those 41 workers who were rescued after 17 days of that harrowing experience. You have the IAF's Chinook helicopter that's just landed at the Dolly Grant Airport in Dehradun. In fact, they're right now in Dehradun, right along the AIIMS hospital, where they're going to be taken to for a full body checkup. That's the Chinook helicopter that's just landed, and straight will be taken. They will be taken to the AIIMS hospital itself in Rishikesh. This is a real moment of relief for the family that have been waiting for their loved ones to come out safe. They are now going to be taken to that hospital after a full body checkup. Will be released. That's the live visual coming in of those workers, trapped workers, all who were loaded on this very Chinook helicopter of the IAF that's been aiding this mission right from the start. It was parked right there along the tunnel collapse site, waiting for the rescue mission to end. And soon after that happened, now they mounted all those trapped workers, 41 of them who were rescued, onto this Chinook helicopter. And just barely about 25 minutes ago that it took off from Chinyalisore, it now has landed in Dehradun. AIIMS hospital, they will be taken to the AIIMS Rishikesh for a full body checkup before they are let off. That's the image coming in of the Indian Air Force Chinook helicopter. As mentioned, there are 15 of these helicopters with the Indian Air Force. It's meant for heavy payloads in high altitudes, and in this rescue mission and this kind of mission that was challenging, to say the least, from this very beginning. Though it looked it looked smooth initially, but several technical hiccups that the rescue teams had to encounter. Finally, after 17 days, that rescue mission ended, and successfully so. All of the army was pressed into action, and from the Indian Air Force, the Chinook helicopter was there on standby for any kind of aid. And finally, it appears after the mission is completed, this Chinook helicopter has carried 41 of those workers who were trapped and has now landed at Dehradun, brought them to the AIIMS Rishikesh hospital. Joining us live for more on that. Amit, you've been overseeing the operations yourself as a reporter and bringing us those updates right from day one. In fact, through and through our India Today correspondents, be it Ashutosh, you, Maushami, who also landed up right to the fag end, all three of you have been bringing us every angle and view of this rescue mission. And this image must be such a relief now coming to the family members to see that Chinook helicopter finally land at the AIIMS hospital for just a customary check. It's basic protocols, because what we know is that all 41 workers and their vitals are absolutely stable. They're doing fully fine, waiting for them to meet with their families.
Right, Nabila, this is a happy moment for the family members, happy moment for the rescue team, which went for a mammoth rescue operation for the past 17 days, and also a happy moment for the Chief Minister of the state and the central agencies which were involved in the rescue operation. If we talk about the medical checkup which is going to happen, right behind me is the community health center of Chinyalisore, from where these 41 workers were taken to the helipad which is nearby, and then airlifted to Dehradun, from there to AIIMS Rishikesh. Now, here the immediate medical checkup was done. I had gone inside the CHC as well, the special ward that was created for the Silkyara Tunnel rescue workers. I've gone through the facilities which is inside. It's all, in place. Be it oxygen supply, the medical requirements that you need, the beds, all facilities are there. But again, this is a community health center, and you would also want to have a state-of-art medical facility. And the nearest one is in Rishikesh, the AIIMS Rishikesh, in this particular case. And Nabila, it's not just about the physical well-being of these workers. It is very important to ascertain the trauma that these people might have gone through in the past 17 days. It's absolutely even more important to analyze this, because they belong to the lower economic strata of the society. If you don't, if the state government or the central government do not go ahead and, analyze and look into the any possible trauma that they have gone through in the past 17 days, these people won't be able to afford the doctors, psychiatrists, therapists, for that matter. Hence, the state government and the central government in this particular case have decided to go ahead with a thorough checkup. The medical checkup was done here. The vitals checkup was done here. At AIIMS Rishikesh, what will happen further is more of the, several other tests will be run. And these workers will also be meeting therapists, psychologists for that matter. They will also get into the details of their experiences in those 17 hours because, this could not only be about their well-being, but also this could also serve as a solid research paper for the authorities, for the medical sector as well in the days to come. If at all, anywhere in the world, a situation of this sort happens, what should be done? What should be the SOPs? What sort of medical facilities should be provided? In what gap the psychologist should be brought into the picture? All that will be also mapped out through this particular exercise. But what I also want to underline is that the fact that they belong to the lower economic strata, they will not be able to afford the doctors, the psychologists, therapists for that matter. And in that case, the state is actually doing the right thing, is moving in the right direction. I'm also, a couple of minutes back, why I'm standing at the CHC in Chinyali. The reason is that the family members of these 41 rescued workers have been now also taken to Rishikesh. They were accommodated in a yellow bus. After that, several other ambulances were called in, and they are being taken to Rishikesh. What we are given to understand that maybe in the evening, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami would want to celebrate, the post-Diwali celebration which happens in Uttarakhand. The locals out here actually celebrate Diwali, a much bigger fanfare of Diwali, much bigger celebration than Diwali, nearly 11 days after Diwali. So a celebration of sorts which was delayed because of this particular rescue operation. We are given to understand that Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami has invited the family members of the rescued workers for the celebration as well. So that is also going to happen in Dehradun. The details of this is still awaited, but again, all this is a sign of relief and celebration, which which every authority, every rescue personnel has the right to celebrate this moment, because this has been a mammoth rescue operation and we have been able to win it after 17 days. The good part is they are physically fit, all 41 of them. I've spoken to their family members. I've also spoken to many of these workers. They are physically fit, they are doing well. But as far as the trauma is concerned, that will be also analyzed at AIIMS Rishikesh. Nabila.
All right. We see that the family members are boarding those buses to AIIMS Rishikesh. How long is that journey for the family members? We know that the workers have already reached. That IAF helicopter Chinook has already landed. They've been now slowly, one after the other, moved out in ambulances to the Rishikesh AIIMS hospital. While that said, family members are yet to arrive. How long is that journey by road, Amit?
Nabila, that could take 5 to 6 hours at least to reach. Rishikesh is in a different terrain of Uttarakhand. We are in Uttarkashi. This road leads to Yamunotri. So they will have to actually take a route from here to towards Tihri, Chamba, and eventually down to Rishikesh. That's the process, and it's fine because in that time frame, the doctors will be able to analyze the entire situation. Several tests needs to be run. That will be done as well in this period of 5 to 6 hours. And it is the case in this particular case, Nabila. We have to also remind ourselves that these 41 workers were stranded inside the tunnel for 17 days. So it has to be a phase-wise exposure to the society. That it needs to be planned out. You can't simply just let these workers to be completely exposed to the normal, routine daily life. And that is why this medical examination process has been mapped out in that manner and fashion as well. If you would look at the visuals that unfolded that we saw last night, was that these workers were taken out, they were all happy, jubilant, coming out of the tunnel, celebrating that moment, hugging the Chief Minister of the state and as well as General VK Singh. After that, the doctors took over the operation as well. For a brief period, immediate medical examination was done to check whether there were any outside external cuts, any sort of cuts for that matter. That was attended. After that, these workers were shifted to the ambulances and taken straight to this Chinchali Sod CHC. Out here, Nabila, in the night, what we saw was that proper food nutrition that was decided by the dietitians were given to them, and family members had a very brief meeting. In the morning, they were allowed to have a proper meeting with their loved ones. The workers were stranded inside. So if you look at the map, it's a slow exposure to the normal life, initiating them slowly to the normal life, to the routine life. And now at AIIMS Rishikesh, the same thing will be done. The family members would possibly have, unhindered
Prime Minister Modi also, as we know, is the latest coming in, as we know that he's interacted with those workers. But we hear from very strong inside sources that Prime Minister Modi, who was overseeing that operation very closely, was keeping a hawk eye on all the live rescue mission. He turned emotional right after those workers were brought out. The entire cabinet, we believe, along with the Prime Minister, watched this rescue operation live. And as soon as those trapped workers were being evacuated from that region, the Prime Minister is said to have become a little emotional. As soon as labourers started coming out, we see our sources tell us that Prime Minister was with a bunch of cabinet ministers, and he turned emotional as he saw those workers finally out safe and unscathed. We should know that these workers, they were trapped for 17 days. One can only imagine what kind of trauma they may have gone through in that very difficult conditions where the most sophisticated machinery finally failed. You had, of course, tense moments right to the fag end of that mission because all big machinery failed. Finally, rescue teams had to turn to manual drilling and excavation to land in success. Paulmi Saha joining us for more on that. Paulmi, we know that the kind of technical glitches, the twists and turns this rescue mission, which ideally should have been straightforward, had, and that was what led to that to several hurdles before these 41 men were finally out safe. We believe Prime Minister Modi, after seeing the rescue mission happen successfully and then those workers were brought out, he welled up as well, got a little emotional while he was seated with some of the cabinet ministers overseeing this operation.
That's right. Nabila, there was a cabinet meeting which was underway at the Prime Minister's residence yesterday, and this cabinet meeting was taking place at about 8 p.m. onwards at his residence when, in fact,
we seem to have lost Paulami's connection there. Paulami Saha tells us that the cabinet ministers along with Prime Minister were seated watching this entire rescue operation pan out live. And while those rescue workers were brought out safely, we saw, they claimed that they saw the Prime Minister himself welling up. He became very emotional. And right after, sure enough, Prime Minister dialed those rescue workers and spoke to those trapped members, gave them all the courage and that pep talk that was needed. He lauded their grit, their courage, and all that that kind of faith that they imposed on the rescue teams as well, thanking them for being patient and calm and really fighting through this. Well, the Prime Minister did speak with those workers, and it happened late to the night, last night, and those are the images on the left-hand side of Prime Minister Modi speaking with those workers as well. But right before that call, we believe that moment when those workers were brought out, it was the Prime Minister who turned slightly emotional. Indeed, was a very personal mission for the Prime Minister as well. It's a BJP-governed state as well. Paulami Saha is with us. Paulami, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami has thanked Prime Minister Modi multiple times for his efforts in coordinating between the teams and trying to sort of pace up this evacuation process to get all of those public and private sector agencies to work in tandem and synchrony. It was the Prime Minister who who finally was the main man trying to coordinate this rescue operation despite his busy schedule. So it was indeed personal to him in every sense.
That's right. We, of course, are hearing reports now that the Prime Minister, in fact, was watching this entire operation, the final moments of it, live as well, because he was in a cabinet meeting at 8 p.m. Yesterday. It was happening at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, his residence. It was a scheduled cabinet meeting, so all of his cabinet colleagues were there, but clearly they were more engaged in finding out what's happening on the ground in Uttarkashi, because we'd reached the finale moments of that rescue operation around about the same time in itself. Just after 8, if you remember, the news had started trickling in that the first worker has been removed from the tunnel site itself. So watching those pictures coming in on news channels across, he was extremely emotional. Like you rightly pointed out, the Prime Minister has been monitoring this rescue operation personally throughout. Every morning at about 7 a.m. he'd make a call to Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami in order to seek an update from him as far as this rescue operation was concerned. Remember this, despite him having a very busy schedule campaigning in the poll-bound states over the last couple of weeks in Madhya Pradesh, in Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Telangana as well. But the Prime Minister would make an early morning call to the Chief Minister in order to seek an update. He, of course, sent his own emissaries on the ground, General V.K. Singh, who was stationed on the ground, camped on the ground to ensure that the centre's resources were pressed into action in coordination with the state to ensure that those trapped workers came out. And then, of course, he sent his top officer in the Prime Minister's office, Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, Dr. P.K. Mishra, visited the site as well on one day in order to ensure and oversee that operation so that everything that was needed in terms of man and machinery was provided to the authorities on the ground who were planning this rescue operation. And the Prime Minister himself was involved and engaged in this rescue operation. You heard him, of course, speak, to the rescued workers later in the night as well over the phone line. And he spoke to each one of them. And he did say that, he was a little emotional. Everyone was keeping their fingers crossed in case something untoward were to happen. They wouldn't have known how to emerge from that. They would have been heartbroken. But he's very glad to have heard their voices, to have seen through TV images that they're safe, they're sound, they're healthy, and they're going to be back with their families now in order to find.
And that would happen anytime now, Paulami. The good news is that the Chinook helicopter has carried those workers, brought them to the AIIMS hospital in Rishikesh. That full body checkup is currently happening as I speak. Though I'm going to cut across to what happened last night, right after Prime Minister, right after that rescue operation ended. Prime Minister Modi, a few hours later, dialed into to connect with those trapped workers who were out, and that conversation was quite emotional. In fact, the Prime Minister, we believe, has lauded, and that's what we hear in that conversation as well. The Prime Minister has lauded those workers for showing grit and resilience in this through this mission.